Classification of stars.
Good day everyone, we are the second group and we are assigned to present the classifications of stars. I am Ayasama Reyes and I am with my group members, Kimairin Joy Doliente, Hazel Joyce Amelia, and Ma'am Alexi Natalie Jen Mabansa. So to start, let us first define what is a star. So we are all pretty much familiar with stars. We see them on most clear night sky as tiny twinkling pinpricks of light in the sky. So very small lang siya, and only a few thousand stars can be seen without the use of telescope. Kadalasan ang nakikita natin is a huge ball of gas na nagpro-produce ng energy through fusion. So ano naman yung nuclear fusion? So when we say nuclear fusion, it is the core support that star against gravity and produce photons and heat as well as small amount of heavier elements. And based from what I have searched, iron yung heaviest element na naproproduce sa fusion ng star. Next, let's talk about the light years naman, or the distance a beam of light travels in a single Earth year. So which it equates to approximately 9.5 trillion kilometers or 24 trillion miles. So as we all know, Sun is our closest star sa ating solar system. And probably nagtatanong kayo, paano nga ba naging star ang ating Sun? Kasi yung iba may nagkakaroon ng misconception na ang Sun ay planet daw. So, ganito po kasi yun. Linawin natin na ang stars are space object that produces their own energy through fusion reaction of gases. They are like round gas burning energy producing luminous orbs. So, the Sun is considered as the star of our solar system because it produces energy by fusion reaction of helium turning into hydrogen. So, counting facts naman po tayo dun sa isa pang malapit na star sa atin, yung Alpha Centauri na tinatawag. So it is the third brightest star in our night sky, or in the night sky. It is a famous southern star and the nearest star system to our sun. So Alpha Centauri system as a whole has 3 confirmed planets, all of them around Proxima Centauri. So pinag-aaralan pa if possible ba yung life dito, at sinasabi nila na sa Proxima b, isa sa planet na makikita sa Alpha Centauri, ay possible daw or most likely habitable world siya. Para din siyang Earth with kasing siya ng size ng Earth and yung distance din ng sa mga stars. Pero hindi pa ito napapatunayan. At kung mapatunayan man, kung ganon, ang kailangan nilang i-travel bago makarating sa Alpha Centauri ay 6,300 years. So imagine, pagpalagay na may life nga po or nakarating na tayo doon gamit yung modern invention or yung mga technology na meron tayo, parang impossible pa din mag-survive dun sa travel papunta sa place na yon. Pagpalagay na, totoo nga, habitable nga yung planet na yon, pero imagine yon, 6,300 years yung ita-travel natin bago makarating doon. At alam naman natin na may mga accident din sa space, like yung mga meteoroids, yung ganun, baka mag-collide dun sa sinasakyan. So parang impossible din talaga na makarating sa Alpha Centauri. Yun. So, let's move on naman on the different ways how we can classify as stars based on various characteristics. So, first, we have the distance. So, standing on Earth looking up in the sky, it may seem as if there is no way to tell how far away the stars are. So, however, astronomers have found ways to measure those distance dun sa mga stars. So, astronomers often use parallax to measure the distances to nearby stars. So, parallax is the observed displacement of an object caused by the change of the observer's point of view. So, in astronomy po, it is an irreplaceable tool for calculating distances of far-away stars. So, the orbit of Earth around the Sun provides the baseline for this calculation. So, yung kauna-unahang tao po na nag-succeed sa pag-measure ng distance ng mga stars using yung parallax method ay yung German astronomer na si Friedrich Bessel noong 1838. So, this was the beginning, parang yun yung consider na pinakasimula ng long and tedious process of building a three-dimensional map of the universe. So, over the following decades, madaming mga astronomers pa aided the improvements in the telescope technology, grew to catalogs of stellar distances using the parallax method. So, madaming mga astronomers yung nagkaroon ng contribution bago na-achieve yung tamang pag-measure sa distance ng stars or yung tamang paggamit ng parallax. So, yung parallax po, parang may computation din yan. Base po din sa nabasa ko, trigonometry yung ginagamit nila para ma-compute yung mga distances dun sa mga stars. So, yun po yung isa sa mga classification or kung paano natin makla-classify yung stars. Unang-una yung sa distance. And to continue, here is Ma'am Kim Irene naman po.
The next one is the size. So the size of the stars is depending on its age and the cycle stage. So the diameter of the sun is about 100 times larger than the diameter of the Earth. From the distance and measured angular diameter of the sun, which is about 0.5 degrees, we can calculate that the sun's diameter is about 100 times in the Earth's diameter and 10 times diameters of the Jupiter, which is siya yung largest planet in our solar system. So the mass determines how big a star will become. So more massive means bigger and hotter. So a 10 solar mass star has about 10 times the sun's supply of nuclear energy. So the stars can be bigger or smaller to the sun. The bigger stars than the sun are the giant and supergiant. So example po nito is the Betelgeuse, which is meron siyang 600 times greater diameter than the sun. So Betelgeuse po is siya sang red supergiant, which is type siya ng stars that's more massive and thousands of times, which maikli ang buhay niya when it compares to the sun. So on the other hand naman po, which is the smaller stars than the sun, is the white dwarfs. So it is about 100 times smaller than the sun's diameter, and mga scientists po found out that white dwarfs was about 2,670 miles or 4,300 kilometers wide, which is, pag kinumpare natin siya sa moon, is mas malaki, which is, ang moon po kasi is about 2,158 miles or 3,474 kilometer diameter. The first one is supergiant. So supergiant is the largest known type of stars. Some are almost as large as our entire solar system. So supergiants are rare stars and can be more than 1,500 times larger than our sun, and this makes them over 2,000 million kilometers across. Red giant, which is a relatively old star whose diameter is about 100 times bigger than it was originally and had become paler. So frequently po ang kulay nito is orange. So Betelgeuse is an example po nito, which is red giant. So it is about 20 times as massive as the sun, which is about 14,000 times brighter than the sun and about 600 light years from the Earth. The next one is the main sequence. So main sequence stars are young stars. Around 90% of the stars in the universe are main sequence stars, including the sun. So the main sequence stars typically range from between 110 to 200 times the sun's mass. Moving on to the white dwarf, which is a small, very dense, and hot star that is made mostly of the carbon. So they are about the size of the Earth, which is pero mas mabigat po sila. So they will eventually lose their heat and become cold, dark black dwarf, which is our sun will someday turn it into white dwarf and then papupunta siya sa black dwarf. And the last one is neutron stars. So ang neutron stars is a very small, super dense star which is composed mostly of tightly packed neutrons. So it has a thin atmosphere of hydrogen and ang diameter niya po is about 5 to 10 miles and ang length niya po is roughly 10 to 15 cubic centimeter.
Let us now hand on to the temperature and colors of the stars. So, throughout history of mankind, kapag tumitingin tayo sa stars or sa sky, nakikita natin yung stars as white. So, as the light from the stars comes through the Earth's atmosphere, parang they appear to be twinkling. Until about 200 years ago, everyone that studies stars thought that all stars are white. Akala nila lahat ay white. The astounding part is, ang stars comes in almost all the shades of the rainbow. So, yung mga scientists started learning more about the light and light waves, parang na-realize nila that there are various kinds of light and wavelengths and can be wide or tightly packed. So as they studied the planets, they began to recognize that light can be perceived in different shades of color based on the wavelength, and that wavelength can be changed based on the star's temperature. So yung type ng science called black body radiation was developed, and they continued to examine that various temperatures and colors. It seems that the stars with cooler temperatures have energy that is radiated in the red tones of the electromagnetic color spectrum, while those with hotter temperatures had energy that is radiated in blue and white tones of the electromagnetic color spectrum. This makes the cooler stars appear red and the stars with a higher temperature appear blue or white. It means that kapag mas red, ibig sabihin ay cooler, at kapag blue naman ay mas hotter. So, from cool to hot. So, pag nakikita diba natin yung rainbow, the colors appear red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So, parang rin siyang arrangement ng rainbow. So, if you remember the colors of the rainbow, you will see that yung order din ng rainbow ay similar din dun sa order ng kulay ng stars. So, in conclusion to this, how does temperature affect the color in stars? Stars emits color of many different wavelengths, but the wavelength of light where a star's emission is concentrated and related to the star's temperature. So, the hotter the stars, the more blue it is, and the cooler the stars, the more red it is. Kapag mas mainit, ibig sabihin, mas blue. Kapag mas malamig, ibig sabihin, mas red. So, always remember, sa color ng stars and the temperature of the stars, it varies like the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So, that's it for the colors and temperature.
To continue, let's start with apparent magnitude. So, yung apparent magnitude is the brightness of an object as it appears as in the night sky. But there is another type of way to measure magnitude, at ito yung tinatawag ng mga astronomer na absolute magnitude. Yung absolute magnitude naman is measures the brightness of a celestial object if it was placed at a certain distance from Earth. So, malalaman natin if it is 32.6 light years away. So, an example of this is yung star natin na Aldebaran. So, it is the red eye of the bull in the constellation of Taurus. So, yung Aldebaran has the apparent magnitude of 0.87 at meron siyang absolute magnitude na negative 0.63. So, ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin nito? Lagi natin tatandaan na ang magnitude scale is an inverse scale. Ibig sabihin, nagwo-works ito ng in reverse. So, the lower the magnitude of a star, the brighter the star. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Aldebaran have absolute magnitude of negative 0.63. It's a pretty bright star because it has negative value. It's still a bright star in general. Should be able to see it with our unaided eye. So, ang tool naman for astronomer na ginagamit ng mga astronomer is yung spectrograph. Ito yung kilalang tool. So, ano ba to? Ito yung tool that is used to obtain information from stars by breaking up the colors they emit. Paano ba ito nag-works? So, ang spectrograph is passes light coming into the telescope through a tiny hole or slit in a metal plate to isolate light from a single area or object. This light is bounced off a special grating which splits the lights into its different wavelengths. So, sa pinakamadaling salita, para itong prism na naggagawa siya ng rainbows.